with the limited conditions. We talk about every day because people, they need in charge of the delivering those food. So we talk about, of course, the food arrived in different batches. So yesterday, Mr. Wang told me that what he had every day for 3 meals. Talk about those quite rich in different types of food, but not that warm. And yesterday, he also sent me another video clip. It's around 10 seconds. So that's the western side and the eastern side. And right now they had the 3 microwaves inside the shelter hospitals, which means this is a temporary solution. So they can microwave the cold food. And we also have books that donated by the local institutions in Wuhan. We talk about the books from different departments. We talk about like the culture or the literature. We talk about scientific books. There is a quite small bookstore inside the shelter hospital. So I can tell you there is a 2 shelf available inside. It's not just bookstore, it's more like a library. So you can borrow the book. So you can tell the basic living standard right now improved a lot. So we talk about that they have a basin so for people to wash the faces. So they have isolated space for themselves. So people not need to really in a big crowd to wash hands or faces. So you can see from different details, it all shows that the situation inside the shelter hospital improved a lot. We also have a netizen ask that the ventilation inside the shelter hospital. We talk about the ventilation. We all use like a stadium, sports stadium, or the exhibition hall. Like this one, this is the Wuchang Sports Stadium. You can see this is quite a large size. Right now, the place utilized just the very ground floor. So we talk about they may use the 1.2 meter long board to separate different sessions. So people think about the ventilation. We can tell you the ventilation is guaranteed. But to talk about the warmth, can you also solve that how to really keep people warm? Because still they have wind going through. So how to deal with it? I had an interview with one patient inside. They have a heater to help them. But talk about if they use the heater throughout the whole night, it's not that comfortable because we still have some patients with fever, right? So the way they solve this issue is they first open the heater before they're going to sleep, and when they sleep, they will switch it off. So they have that electronic or the electric blanket for heating. So all in all, we have 467 patients inside Wuchang Shelter Hospital, right? 467 inside. Yes. So today we're also honored to invite one expert from the National Emergency Team, Mr. Xiao. I'm from Department of Respiratory and Critical Illness Medicine. So we can tell he's from Zhongnan Hospital, and actually the Zhongnan Hospital is one of the first team inside. So they can tell their team actually, I believe, is around 2 o'clock p.m. local time, they arrived in the shelter hospital because we know shelter hospital just started construction on the February 3rd, and they have a team of 42 medics, so 11 doctors, 11 nurses, and we also have the supporting team. Altogether, 42 people arrived in the shelter hospital in the afternoon of February the 5th. So right now we are at the front gate of the Hongshan Shelter Hospital. We talk about Mr. Xiao's team. I cannot really show you here. So they have a Terminator. Let me show you some secrets about that Terminator. So we talk about that refitted truck. What's inside? That's all the medical supplies and resources. So because we talk about shelter hospitals, that's based on the military concept, military utilization. We talk about earthquake rescue mission. So basically, this is the way of doing things that we have quite in the limited time. We gather all the available medical supplies and we arrive in the place needed help. So think about this refitted truck. Actually, you can do a lot of, like, even operation. You can also do it inside the truck. So talk about, let's say we are not in Wuhan, we're just in a very remote place. The supply inside the truck can meet the need for 10 days. So basically means there's no replenishment. All the resources inside the truck can support us for 10 days. So that's all including medical needs and living needs. So we have the refitted trucks, some for the medical supply, some for testing, laboratory test, some for the water or electricity supply. And we also bring the camps with us. So we very beginning we think about what else we need. So we basically bring a lot of things that maybe we need to use. So the medical supply, living needs, all these in a very short time we gather all these available resources. We even bring the tent with us because at the very beginning we thought maybe we also need to build another tent hospital. And we talk about the masks, we talk about protective suits, goggles. Actually, we also have all these reserves from the other supporting hospitals and institutions. They bring all these to us. So we talk about this is really a shared love and care. So also see this a lot of the media coverage, also by CGT New Media. Actually, there are a lot of interaction happened. Talk about interactions between the doctors and patients. Of course, doctors are key responsibilities for treatment. So talking about the treatment inside the shelter hospital, that's all the condition patients. So basically, the goal is we need to encourage, let them have that belief that they can be cured. So we basically give them more confidence. So this is a brochure or the handbook we have. So we talk about the patients, actually, they left their home and lived inside the shelter hospital. They talk about not only the physical, even I believe for mental part, that's even worse. So under this circumstance, so this is what Mr. Xiao's team had. This is what they compiled. So they talk about the inside shelter hospital. So let's see what's inside. So talk about how to protect yourself, what's the center of discharging from hospital, what's the common mental stress, and how to mitigate the stress.
达到一些效果。
So for Mr. Xiao,
我觉得效果非常好。因为刚开始来的时候呢
how this book works, I can tell you actually the book play a bigger role. So at the very beginning, I can tell you see a limited condition inside bring additional anxiety to our patients. So they talk about maybe they not really have the basin, they not have the place or the toothbrush. They feel concerned. So that is why we have this handbook, this very small brochure to tell you under certain circumstance, actually we have the experts, we have the professionals, we have medical people from across China to come here to support you. They come here to help you. You may have the most difficult time, but we're all here to help you. So at the first, second days, you still can feel they are in anxiety, but actually start from the third day, you can tell they release and they have a better connection with our doctors, nurses, and they also organize different clubs. So because this is a quite vast space inside. So basically right now we have almost 500 beds. We have a limited number of medical workers. So we talk about a patient, party members to be the leader of a certain group. So we basically divided that 500 beds to different groups. So basically, we really to encourage each other, we really keep up that morale,
刚才我们看到这个小册子，请我们的肖队长给我们打开看一下啊。里面其实有一个内容写到了这个方舱医院的出院标准是什么？其实这个是我们好多网友都非常关心的问题。肖队长能不能给我们一个简单的解答？
from a shelter hospital. So can you briefly introduce a little bit about the standards? So first, they need to conduct 2 times of a nucleic acid test.
采样的时间要至少间隔1天。
So also, it's 24 hours in between. The test results should be all negative. So make sure they're not infectious after they discharge from the hospital. And we also talk about the blood saturation should reach 95 or above. And third, we talk about the chest X-ray, because right now the shelter hospitals do not have the equipment for CT imaging, but as we look at the chest X-ray.
照了胸片以后呢，我们会有这个专门的放射科大夫来给大家来阅片来看。
对，当然我们也要注意，这上面是有前提的，是
And we also have the doctors to check
3天以上，对，而且应该也没有其他的，包括
their X-ray pictures. And we also talk about first the temperature back to the normal situation for 3 consecutive days or even more. So we also will send the doctors from the Department of Radiology to check their pictures. So we talk about the beds actually inside, so close to each other, whether that's a potential for cross-infections. Indeed, there are quite many patients inside, but actually we provide even better protective measures. So we give the patient 2 masks, one for the morning time, one for the afternoon. So the patients first protect themselves, so that's also help us to mitigate the possibility of cross-infections. And also the patient inside the shelter hospital, their result of NAT is positive, so which means they all the infected patients, so there is no cross-infection. So we talk about the patients inside the shelter hospital, they all have the negative results on their nucleic acid tests. So we talk about when one side in trouble, all sides are in support. Based on my information, Inside the shelter hospital, we have team from Fujian province, from Hebei province, and also from the national level, of course, from Guangdong as well, and also the People's Hospital of Wuhan. So talk about the coordination between different medical teams. Indeed, it takes time for us to get used to different way of working because we come from different hospitals. We have a different way of working, and also we have different way of talk. But after we all arrived here, no matter where you are from, which hospitals, we come here for one goal, to help Wuhan's NCP patients to win the battle against NCP. Because we work toward the same goal, it's very easy for us to get a better coordination. So we understand what kind of the situation we need to have the pre-examination triage, and we also have the different shifts. So I can tell you we have a really smooth coordination and cooperation. So we talk about today, we have a patient admitted, we have an announcement, and different team will have clearly a role and responsibilities. Maybe that's 2 a.m. So we have no delay in treatment. So we talk about they work for 4 hours per shift, and you also saw they wear that from head to toe, the protective suits. They didn't eat, they didn't drink. We can tell you because they work for so long time, and they sweat a lot. And sometimes they also feel not comfortable, but actually you can see no one fall back because they really, everyone try to do more to help the other colleagues. So to save some time for the others to rest. So they work for 4 hours, 5 hours, or even 5.5 hours. We also have doctors from a department of radiology, from the laboratory, and we also have doctors for the NAT test. So we talk about because we, for the same goal, we work on the same pace. So you can see we have that synergy. I really understand what Mr. Xiao just said. We talk about Wuchang hospitals. So we talk about actually for Wuhan right now, the season actually is a little bit freezing, but doctors in Wuchang hospital had a heat stroke because you can see they have the facial shield. They work very overstretched and also high to toe protected. All these actually working under this circumstance. The medical staffs also need to take better care of themselves so they can provide more help and treatment to our patients. Thank you very much, Mr. Xiao. I have one question to Mr. Xiao. So we talk about actually your team is the first team arrived, right, in the shelter hospital. So talk about, share with us your memory, right? So we talk about you're one of the first batches arrive here, so you basically experience all difficulties from the day one. So we cannot really enter the shelter hospital now, so share with us touching moments. So let me tell you some stories. We dispatched from Hunan at 6 p.m. Actually, I was way back home. I received a phone call saying we should leave this evening. So I just leave it, pack up, and then back to the hospitals. So we start our journey. So you can see we have the husband to see the wife off, or we have the teachers to send the students off. So it's a really touching moment. And the second, when we approaching to Wuhan city, we met a car in Wuhan. They saw us, and he opened the window and thumbs up to us. We couldn't hear what he said, but we can really saw from his body gestures that he gave us the courage. And after arrived, that's 1 a.m., we received the order from the commander office, and we should enter to the venue. So basically, we set up our tent in a very fast manner. There's no complaint. You can see everyone just work very swiftly. And we start to admit patients. And we start to do the pre-examination triage. And the patients actually really considerable. They keep a distance with us. They talk to us that we know you come from other provinces, you are here to help us. You are doctors, you are nurses. We don't want you to be contracted. So for the doctors and nurses, although we're wearing the goggles, we cannot really see each other clearly, but you can feel that passion, that love, that care. And we talk about after the patients inside the shelter hospital, this is really a new situation for them. And also the person next to them were the strangers. So you can see the people a little bit anxious. And also for us, we receive a lot of thumbs up from our patients. They actually give us a lot of courage. They give us a lot of.
我印象最深刻的其实就是竖大拇指的这个动作。这个动作不光是我们武汉的
the thumbs ups. So we actually have this gesture every day, we can tell. It's not given by the drivers. And actually, this is also the thumb up we give to each other, to our colleagues. And also, we give the thumbs up to the patients, and the patient also gives thumbs up to the doctors. You can see this is a very nice atmosphere going on here. We talk about actually everyone working together. We talk about this is not something only happen in Wuhan. Actually, this is really the whole country right now need to give the sum up to the people all involved. We talk about the story you talk about that's happened in 1934. We talk about the army started the Long March journey. As General Secretary Xi Jinping, we talk about this is a new journey in the new era. This is a new Long March journey for all the medical workers. This is also their practice of going the Long March journey. Hope they can protect themselves well, and also we work together to win the battle against novel coronavirus. Thank you, Mr. Xiao.
因为肖大夫还非常忙，对我们只能现在先把他放回去工作，因为他的整个的排班刚才给我透露了一下。
So we know Mr. Xiao had a really tight schedule and talk about really we utilize his rest time to do some interview.
很多医护人员非常的辛苦，他们。
So we learned that actually doctors and nurses, they work really hard. We talk about not just for the medical treatment. And in the morning, they need to give the patients the test results, the medicines, doing the test or taking blood. They also actually shoulder different roles. They deliver food to the patients and also clean the venue. We talk about security forces here. Actually, you can see we have really strict security measures. So we talk about the people from different sectors. It's quite hard to get inside. So we talk about all these cleaning jobs. We talk about cleaning toilets. We talk about cleaning the wastes, the garbages. All these actually performed by the nurses or the supporting teams inside. Basically, we should salute to all of them inside. Yes, indeed, because we talk about doctors and nurses, actually they are taking multiple roles. So we talk about the refitted trucks that can conduct operation, can take images. So we talk about operation room, not inside the shelter hospital, so not next to their beds. So where is the operation room or the room for taking tests? So we are right now at the eastern side of the shelter hospital. We talk about the transformate, the machines. We talk about the refitted trucks. Actually, they parked at the other side of the shelter hospital. Hope we can show you the pictures later on. So talk about the Hongshan Sports Stadium. Inside are the beds for patients. Outside, actually, they have the trucks for water supply, power supply, and also the equipment needed for emergency treatment. So, all in all, that's the way we call it the shelter hospital. So we can see we have a lot of friends from the media gathering here, because today it's a very important moment. Because very soon we will see more and more patients inside the shelter hospitals. They can be discharged and go back home. We talk about the shelter hospital actually at the very beginning. There are a lot of debates. So we talk about patients coming inside the shelter hospital. They should always be inside. We talk about as long as the patients meet the standards of discharging, they can be very soon be freed from the shelter hospital and back home. So we talk about these centralized places for patients with mild symptoms. It's better for treatment. So we have 28 patients who will be freed from the shelter hospitals, and we talk about the earliest one admitted on the February 6th, where the latest one is on the February 9th. So we talk about the shortage time period. Just stay inside for 3 days. So this age from 25 to 69. But the majority people it's around the 60s. So we talk about actually we focus on the patients below 65 years old, especially for the elderly people. So we talk about for the very first batch of patients, strictly subject to the standards released by the National Health Commission. We talk about their body temperature get to the normal situation for 3 consecutive days. The CT imaging shows there's no inflammatory symptoms. And we talk about they conduct 2 times of nucleic acid test with 24 hours in between, all in negative. And we talk about it because patients inside are the patients with mild symptoms. We talk about what if the mild symptom patients later on their symptoms worsen, what's going on or what measures we will take. So we actually give the targeted treatment. So let's say, so your symptoms are getting better, and we will give you less medicine. We talk about if you're just coughing, then we'll give you the coughing medicine. And if your symptoms actually worsen, then if meet the standards, they will be transferred to the designated hospitals. So they have a all process for different categorized patients. So we talk about the medicines prescriptions actually based on the situation of different patients.
那么其实我们今天直播间呢有很多的这个网友留言啊，他们就
So we have a lot of the viewers.
非常振奋，也同时在
We talk about today we have 28 patients. That's really encouraging news to us.
我看到远方有很多人这个穿着
Also, please protect yourself.
28个患者是现在还没有出来。
So we talk about that 28 patients did not coming out yet, right? Yes. We know actually they are very stringent process they need to finish before then leaving the shelter hospital. And they need to go through the disinfection process. They will wear their new clothes. And also look at the different vehicles here. We have the people from transportation.
同时呢，我们也看到了像城管执法的车辆，这些车辆这个时候并不是在执行他们日常的巡逻的，这些电瓶车呢之后就会作为我们社区的一个运送病人的车辆，把病人接回家。
Actually, this is not for city inspections amid the epidemic. Right now, look at these vehicles. Actually, they for transporting the patients. So basically, we will bring all the patients discharged from the shelter hospital to their community, and there will be a window person from their community to pick them up. So we have a question. So basically, their own car, the private car, cannot pick them up, right? They should go through the car designated, right? They can go back home. Actually, we'll talk about these vehicles. It's a supporting force. Actually, you can see the ambulance or the other cars. Actually, we have the cars designated for transportation. We talk about the private vehicles. They are the main force. First, still considering the safety. We know there's restrictions imposed here in Wuhan City. So we talk about a lot of jobs conducted by the taxis or the hailing taxis. We talk about the city inspectors' cars. All these help us the temporary transportation job. So we are here all want to witness the first batch of patients discharging from the shelter hospital. You can see here we stay united to overcome the difficult part, the difficult time. So all the vehicles will be mobilized through one single window. So there's no private cars to pick the patients up. So we also had an interview with a city management authority. They also made some modification on the vehicles.
在之前的情况里面是用来接送很多小区的人出去买菜
So look at the cars, the battery cart before sending the people from different communities to go outside to buy vegetables, fruits, daily necessities or drugs.
我们看到其实皮卡远处
they also have small vans.
小的皮卡车，这个皮卡车这样的车，因为它
So there's also the one here, that's the pickup. So that's also provide a little bit shelter.
做一些相应的防护的措施的。这些车呢，经常会在120的救援力量不足够的情况下，有患者比如说他会向社区反映之后呢，社区就会这个把他们的车 来做一个整体的调用，这时候就会临时经过改装之后呢，临时的变成一个应急的打着引号的120。我们现在看到，其实现场还有很多来自社区的工作人员，他们像现在我们能够看到有黄鹤楼街道，有洋园街，
from Huanghe community,
还有像水果
Yangyan
湖街
community,
南湖
Shouyilu.
街，这
So you
些
can see they
工作
have
人
the
员呢，
board
他们
here.
都在等待着
So
他们社区的
they are
这个患者
waiting.
出院。
The
现在这个
patients
时间大家都等待了很久啊。我
belong
们
to their communities.
简单
So
的
they
采
are
访
the
其中一
people
位。
here to pick them up.
好的，
你好，
So let's
你好
talk to them a little
我们这儿
bit.
是中央广播电视总台央视频的现场直播哈。您现在
So
在这儿
hello,
等
we
待
are
的
doing
是
the live
您
streaming
小区里面的社区里
CGTN
面的
New
哪位？
Media. So you are waiting
有
the
3位是
patients
吧？在
in
之
your
前，
community, right? 3 patients.
好，因为现场还需要做一个简单的这个，他们有一些工作程序，我们暂时先不打扰各位这个社区的工作人员。
So they are right now
那刚才还有网友给我们
waiting
留言啊，
to
说
pick
是
up
刚
the
才您说
patients
到
back to
这
their
个之前出
communities.
院的时候，这有一个比较复杂的这个过程。那么很
So
多
we
人问
talk
这个
about
丢弃的衣物，包括它的一些就是带
they
进
need
去
to go to
的
the
食物还能
different
再带出来。
process
然后如果没有办法带出来的话，会怎么样处理呢？
before
这
they
个
discharge. We talk about their private belongings.
对，这个刚才因为我们在最开始的时候采访
They
的
brought
南
with
南
them
医院
inside, whether it's allow them to
他给我
bring
们简单
their
的介绍
personal
了一下，
belongings
说
out.
今天这种情况呢，更
So
多的他们的衣服这个
based
主要
on
是
our
在
interview with the
他们
president,
选择丢弃，
talk
就
about
完全的这个就丢在这儿。
they can
相信更多的
throw the
患者其实是不希望
clothes
把
inside
这
the
些衣服
shelter
所带回
hospitals.
家的。当时他们很多
I believe the
工作人员
majority of
采访
patients do not want to really bring those clothes with them back to home. So we talk about if they want to bring their personal belongings back home, of course they need to go through a very stringent process of disinfection.
大家都知道，在医院的这个环境里面，他们都不说再见的。
So we talk about shared hospitals. The hospitals, you never say see you because we don't. Not saying that the people do not want to see each other again, is that we don't want to see you again in this circumstance in the hospital. So that is why we not really say see you inside the hospital. I believe that's the same knowledge applied to the personal belongings.
网友看到现在这个现场有很多这个蓝色的这个围栏，那现在我们为这个
So we talk about there also the blue barricade. So I see a lot of people really busy. So what kind of jobs going on? We cannot really tell what's going on inside because we are not allowed to go inside. So just based on my knowledge, the blue barricade.
他们都不能够进入到最里边，包括他们其实都是非常按照标准的来。
So you can see our friends from the media. They standing in one line, and they also cannot go inside, right? So of course that blue barricade also basically give you the space to stay inside. And we talk about actually the entrance is not here. The entrance is at the other side. It's the north or the southern doors, the southern gates. That's for the entrance. Here, we're waiting the patients going outside. So if you want to go inside, you need to go a very strict sterilization process. We talk about Wuhan International Convention Center at 12 o'clock noon time. 6 patients actually discharged from the shelter hospital there. We talk about the Wuchang shelter hospital. Plus that 6 patients. So altogether, there are the first batch of patients freed from the shelter hospital. So as Mr. Xiao introduced, we have quite enough the medical forces. So you can see right now the progress going on here in the Hongshan shelter hospitals going faster. And we talk about the other shelter hospital. That's the Wuhan living room. Actually, they started in a later stage, so there's no news of the patients leaving from the shelter hospital. But we can tell starting from today, you will see more patients free from the shelter hospital. So you mentioned a number that patients may stay in just 3 days and they are allowed to leave. So we talk about actually the symptoms. You should not be panic. You're concerned too much. That can be cured, right? Yes. But one thing I would like to make it clear, 3 days inside the shelter hospitals, not saying that that's a recovery period only needs 3 days. We talk about people actually they stay in quarantine at home, some actually in quarantine in the hotels or in the other hospitals under medical observations. Actually different scenarios before they came here inside the shelter hospitals. So I had an interview with another Mr. Wang, and he inside for his 6 days, his body temperature is normal for 9 consecutive days. So we talk about before they coming to the shelter hospitals, they quite getting better or their symptoms is really light. So you can see different cases, different scenarios going on here. So we talk about a way of sterilization. So talk about what kind of process inside. How long or how frequent it is inside in terms of sterilization, and we don't know whether our viewers can really hear the cheer up here going on, because you can see right now here we go, the first batch of patients cured from the shelter hospital. You can see they bring their personal belongings. Of course, as we all finish a process of sterilization. A big applause to all our cured patients. Congratulations. So you can see the blue barricade. That's the path, a passageway for our patients. So you can see they keep saying that thank you everyone, thank you support, stay strong Wuhan. 大学湘雅2医院的紧急救援队，还有其他我们各地的紧急救援队的工作人员，刚才都是送上了掌声。其实也是希望我们的患者们在离开医院以后呢，能够继续的保持自己的身体状态，能够让自己的身体更快达到一个平衡。And hope the patients can keep healthy and also get recovered. 在这个患者因为在生病之后呢。他们的身体状态虽然是现在刚才说那4项指标都达到了一个标准，但是在具体的情况看来呢，他们的免疫系统其实还是受到了一定的损害的，所以 their immune system actually is weakened. So we talk about recovery.
这个就算是一个句号，而更多的还需要后边去继续来进一步的。
We talk about, actually that's very important. We talk about today is not the destination, it's not the final stage. Actually, this also start a new stage for all the patients here, because they need to do an even better job to keep their immune system stronger. So right now you are looking at, this is the first batch of patients freed from the shelter hospital. And they keep saying thank you so much to everyone and stay strong Wuhan. Fight on Wuhan.
那他出院之后呢，就像你刚说的，这个免疫系统受到了一定的损害。
So talk about all these patients. What kind of activities or workout they can do? So of course they need to stay in the hospital stay in home for 14 days. And you look at it, this is the approved for discharging from hospitals on February 6th. Stayed in Wuchang. shelter
病毒感染
hospitals
的肺炎患者
and
的出院
the
标准，准予出院，
doctors
特此证明。
not
然后出院之后呢，要请居家隔离14
for
天，
discharging
不
from
适呢就要
hospitals
随
and
诊。
also need to stay
现
at
在
home
院
for
长的名字，
14 days. And also with
看他们其
president's
实
name at
一
the
直在
bottom.
说着，武汉加油，说着谢谢你们。我们今
So
天
they're saying fight on
听到
Wuhan.
最多的词
Appreciate
其
everyone's
实就是
help.
刚才这几句
I
话，就是
believe this is the most
加油，
frequent words we
谢谢。
heard, the
但
most
是没有我
frequent
刚才
sentence
说
we
的
heard. We
再
talk
见，
about
我
fight
们
on,
都
we
不希
talk
望
about
这些患
thank
者跟
you.
医院再见，而
We
更
don't
多的
want to
其
say
实
see
是
you
再
because
次
we don't
见
want
面
to
啊。我
see
们
the
更多的是
patients
希望他
again.
们能够
We
从
want
这个
to
通道
see
走
our
出去以后，
patients
就能
in
走
an
回到
even
自己
healthier
康复的一条路。这条道其实也是一个充满希
situation
望的路。
because right
他
now
从
we
方
talk
舱医
about
院
this
里面
blue
出来，
passage.
走向了
That's
自己
the
的社
way
区，
towards
走向了自己的
healthier
家人，
life,
去看一下
healthier
他们是
situation. That's
怎
also
么
the
被上车。
pathway from the shelter hospital to the community,
看到
back
这
to
个
their home, back to their
患者是
family
非常
members.
欣喜的啊。那就像你说的，不说再见。
So
那么
that's
下
a
一次
blue
相见，我们希
passageway
望是在一个
passageway
非常温馨
towards
的
a
环境里，
future,
是在
a
非常
bright
安全的
future.
环境里。那有很多网友甚至还在我们的这个
So we
直
would
播
like
间
to
里
see
面
them
留言说，
again,
这一
of
次
course,
试出了28个患者，那下一次我们希望能看到
in a
上千个
happier
患者，乃至更多的
scenario.
数字的
So
一个
today
好
we
消
have
息。
28
我们可以看到，通过
patients,
这个
and
直
I
接的镜
hope
头
next
看
time
到
we
我
can
们的
see
患者非常
more
的
than
开心啊
1,000 patients
拎着大包小包的东
discharged
西。
from the hospital. You can see their
他们
smiling
其实
face.
现在是一个出舱的这么一个状态，并不是完全意义上真正的出院。
We talk
那么
about
我
today
们
they
希望他们在
discharged
下
from
一
the
个阶
shelter
段
hospital,
能够
but
更好
they
地
not
照顾自己。
we cannot say they 100% cured.
对
They
其
should
实严格意义上来说，
stay at
已
home
经
for
是出院，只是
14
他们对于
days
康复
for
可能还需要一个
rehabilitation or
更
for
长期的一个
recovery.
过程。
So we talk about they
我
need
们看到
a
其实现在现
longer
场我们看到的
period
这个感觉
to
啊，有
recover
一点点像
themselves,
我们
to
机
make
场
their immune
自己
system
的这
strong
个
enough.
家人朋友来接自己。
So it's more
对，
like
因
an
为可能有些
airport,
人
right?
如
So
果是
you
家
can
人的
see
话，
the
他不需要
patient
举杯号，
arrive
但是他们可
at
能
the
平时
airport
也
and
是
the
自己
family
社区的工作
member
人员，这时候来接，
or
可能大家不
someone
太熟。哎，但
here
是
to
你看
pick them
我
up.
们
So
刚
you
才
can
这个
see
社区的工作人员
one
就接到了
patient
自己的患者，
in
现在
black
他们正一步步往自己
right now
的
pick up
这
the
个
patients and back to their
交通工具上面
community.
走。
And right now they are approaching
你
to
刚说
their
像接机
vehicle.
啊，
步
其实
他们就
以
回家
往我们对以往接人的话，我们都会看到自己的亲朋好友来一个大大的拥抱，但在这个特殊的时期，我们似乎只能用一种特殊的
So
方式
of
来
course
认知
there's no
彼此
big hug, no handshaking amid epidemic.
但是这并不影响啊。
这样的不握手和不拥抱，其实更多的
We talk
是为
about
了我们未来更好的拥抱和握手。确实，现在我们看着
the
这个
hugs,
患者们这个
the
从
shaking
方方面面
hands
渐行渐远
will
的背影，其
happen
实是非常
one
的
day
感慨，也
when
希望
we
他们
win
能
the
够
battle.
尽快的走上自己
So
的这
this
条
is
康复之路。
really
我们看到
encouraging
武汉
moment
其实现在
today.
整个的
We
街上
see
的车
28
还是非
patients
常的少，
discharged.
车辆
And you can see
很多的
because
武
of
汉的
the
市
air
民都告诉我
transportation
说，
restriction
其实
here
这不是
in
他们
Wuhan
熟悉的那个
city,
武
there's
汉，
not
他们希望
quite
武汉能够
many
尽快的恢复到
vehicles
自己
going
原
on
有的
here
样
on
子。
the
其实我们
street.
为什么今
This
天
is not
这么
something the
关注
frequent
这个轻症患
situation
者
in
今
Wuhan
天
city.
从方舱里
We
面走
talk
出
about
来？
why
很重要的
we
一点就是
bring
他
you
们其
this
实
live streaming
不光
here.
是自己的一个康复，也是代表了一种
One of
希
the
望的传
important
递。我们希望
reason
他们
is
这
that
种
we
精
talk
神状
about
态能够
actually
感染
the
到
green
更多的
passageway
患者，
also
希望
talk
他
about the
们也
carry
能够
forward that
继
spirit.
续努力，
And
把
we
自己
would
的
like to
身
hear
体
more
尽
good
快的康
news.
复，也
And
希望
that's
整个武
also
汉能够尽快
encouraging
的康复。
news to
相信
all the patients inside.
对。
And we also hope
金健，
Wuhan
那我
will
们现在可
be
以看到是
better
一部分的
and
这个
back
患
to
者
the
出来，
normal
那么他们这
situation
个剩下的
at
人
an
出来
early
还有一个
date.
过程，是吗？
So today
没
we
错，今天
witnessed
刚
the
才应该
first
是一
batch
部分的
of
患者，
patients.
可能会有一个
And just now we
逐渐
just
的一
see
个过
a
程。
small
但是现在
batch
因为现
of
场相对
patients.
的人数
I
比较
believe
乱，
we
人
will
比较
see
乱，我
more
们可能没法去
groups
严格
of
的统计已
patients.
经有几位出来了，
So
还
in
会有
total,
多
we
少位
believe
出来？
that's 28
但是我们
patients.
也是能够从他们刚才出 出来的时候这种脸上的表情和精神状态，能够
But
感
look
觉
at
到
their
他们的
facial
心情和喜
expression
悦。
of our patients. You can
那么
tell
其实很多
they are
网友对
very
我们的方舱医院一
happy.
直是
They're
非常
in a
关
good
注的。
mood.
我们也希望大家
So
欢
we
迎大
talk
家在我
about
们的短视
actually
频
the
直播间
shelter
上面留言，
hospitals draw
我们将
everyone's
为我们
attention.
的这个网友进行一一的解答。那其实刚刚我们有问到一个问题啊， 李老师，就是
We also have a question going on here. We talk about the process of sterilization. So what's the process of sterilization and how frequently it's going on inside? Do you have the information? We need to cross-check the questions to the medics inside. So right now here is going on an interview. So the lady in black is the patient just freed from the shelter hospital. So we said farewell to the doctors and nurses, and the patients inside. We took pictures. They give us the best wishes, and they also give us a notice how to take care of ourselves. We talk about we need to stay at home for quarantine 14 days. And also need to do some workout. Yes, we also encourage other patients because they also feel happy for us. And we're also saying that we are the good examples to all the patients still inside, so they need to have that confidence that one day they will coming out. So the memory inside, I can tell you that's really the good care taken by the nurses and doctors. We talk about right now the most thing I would like to do is to smell the fresh air outside, but I still need to back home for quarantine for another 14 days. So for my area, we have around 279 beds. So we talk about the government actually in a very short time period built these kind of shelter hospitals. We talk about the difficulties I face actually cannot really compare to the difficulties that the government face, but you can see we have the best solutions.
其实我们刚才也听到了，可能大家听的有点相对远一点，听到这位张姓的患者。
So the patients talk about they have a quite deep bond with the doctors and nurses, and also give the courage to the other patients. She also said she really wants to breathe some fresh air, but she needs to wait for another 14 days. So we wait for our patients to improve their immune system so they can embrace the bright future. We talk about actually today a little bit raining, but we can talk about the patients freed from the shelter hospital, bring the sunshine to everyone. So we talk about actually their immune system is weakened. That's why they need to keep in quarantine at home for 14 days. We talk about the workout, doing some exercise, or rehabilitation, therapy, anything, any supporting measures they can take. I believe medics should be the right person to answer this question. But actually, we see in different shelter hospitals, they are doing some very easy exercise inside the shelter hospitals. I believe our viewers saw some media coverage the video clips, we talk about they need to do a moderate exercise that's helping them to getting better. So a little bit swipe, it's okay. So that is why you can see that the Wuhan living room, that's a culture exhibition, the patients doing their square dance. So we didn't see square dance for a little bit time period. Here we go. We have the square dance inside the shelter hospital. And also we have in other shelter hospitals, the nurses also organize the patients to do some the exercise. So that exercise actually aimed to improve their cardio. And we talk about here the Hongshan Sports Stadium Shelter Hospital. They also do the other exercise and also sing songs. So we talk about the song like the Ode to the Motherland actually is this song that I heard today inside the shelter hospital. You mentioned doctors and nurses basically take multiple roles on their shoulder. They need to take care of the patient. They also need to do the cleaning and also other supporting jobs. So talk about the next step when the helping hand can be sent inside the shelter hospitals. So we talk about actually the helping forces. We talk about the medical staff. They're from the Department of Respiratory Medicine. They're from the infectious disease. We talk about doctors from other departments. They need to get trained first. And then we talk about the cleaning staff. Because this is something quite special. This is, of course, first time for them work inside a shelter hospital. They need to go through a training. We talk about one shelter hospital today actually give the training to the cleaning staff, and the cleaning staff already inside and start to do the cleaning work and they cleaning the toilets and also dealing with the garbages. And we have learned that today the cleaning staff for Hongshan Sports Stadium Shelter Hospital will also give the training to the cleaning staff, so that also helps to mitigate the pressures on the shoulder of medics. So we talk about, of course, we should give the best wishes to the patient, and also we should also wish our medics and also, of course, our correspondent on the front line, protect yourself. So how long have you been in Wuhan? So for myself, I've been here for 14 days already. So talk about your personal experience, how to protect yourself. All right, I would like to bring you this footage. This is live picture, and right now we are seeing the second group of patients right now coming outside the shelter hospital, and they are taking the pictures with the local medics and also the medics from different provinces. And you can see a one page of letter that's the approved or the certificate saying that they are allowed to be discharged. And you can see they in a very good mood.
因为距离隔得太远，我们可能来通过大家通过我的转述来 了解后面情况可能更好一点，因为我们也了解到，其实现场的这些人员呢，他们今天会按照批次来逐渐的出院。
So we talk about today the patients will be freed in different groups. We talk about today we will have 28 patients. The original plan is 34, but for the remaining 6 patients, they're not allowed to leave. So for several reasons. So first, their families, so they may not have family members to take care of them. Then it's better to keep them inside the shelter hospital. We talk about the living standards, living conditions improving a lot. We talk about actually with the correspondent. They work really hard. They also need to go inside the ICU or the very front line. So first, we need to protect ourselves. We talk about masks. We talk about look at these gloves. That's all the must. And also we should get a good rest. So we should really get a normal routine. And for the media people, it's really hard for us to get a quiet routine. But we try our best to make ourselves in a healthy condition. So please stay safe. So we talk about patients. They free from the hospitals. We talk about still they're not 100% cured. So just now, we talk about they are not really in a weakened condition. We talk about they not really want to show their face in front of the cameras. That's very understandable. And actually, that's the respect between our both sides. We don't really want to take picture of the patient's face. Actually, we're not saying that the patient pretends she's in a weakened situation. Actually, it's more the privacy consideration. So don't worry too much. We will for sure see more patients from the shelter hospitals. So we right now seeing the second batch of patients coming outside. So a rough calculation for one batch, that's around 7 to 10 patients. So we talk about today we have 28 patients. So we will see more patients coming out. So we talk about this is a live streaming in front of the Hongshan Sports Stadium shelter hospitals. So our correspondent in Wuhan for 14 days already. So the most touching stories, I can tell there are a lot. So I can share you with one story. That's a Didi driver from Mianyang. So we have the Didi taxi teams. They are right now help different communities to transfer the patients or help the community residents for the commute. And that driver in Mianyang, a survivor from a Wenchuan earthquake, he experienced that devastating earthquake. And today he showed up here in Wuhan. He decided to live in Wuhan for a longer time. I would like to stay in Wuhan for a longer time to help Wuhan. And we talk about medics. We talk about the angel in white. We talk about medics. We talk about the residents in Wuhan in his 50s. It's like a father talk about his daughter. We talk about they are the angels in white. They are not. They're just people wearing white gowns. They are still our children. They are our kids, daughters, or sons. So you can see the medics. We know they work under big pressure. Let's pay our homage to all the medics for their hard work. So we talk about right now the patients in different batches. Free from the shelter hospitals, they need to go through a different process in terms of testing and also the sterilization. So we talk about inside the shelter hospital, have the pillows and the daily necessary actually have equipped by provided by the hospitals. And talking about whether they have that hospital gowns provided, they still wear their private clothes inside the shelter hospitals. We talk about pillows and the quilt. Actually, I have inside the shelter hospitals before. So we talk about the quilt as in green, that's the military one, and also the one in white from the hospitals, and here in Hongshan Sports Stadium, actually in different colors. Basically means all these pillows and quilts actually is provided by different institutions. We talk about the desks actually from the elementary schools and middle schools. So you can see actually at this moment, any institutions, you can provide the beds, you provide the bed, you can provide the quilt, you can provide desks, you provide the things that needed. So this is the synergy that created here. So we talk about construction. We talk about just put the beds inside, give them the quilt, a pillow, or the electric blanket. That's it. Actually, they have different difficulties. And all in different small pieces. They talk about the drainage system. They talk about they need to bring all different pipelines connected, but they have a different size of the pipelines. And look at here the vehicles right now on the city inspectors' cars to their community. We would like to see more these kind of scenarios because they are very close to the cured day, their big day. So for shelter hospitals, actually it's quite a new concept to the majority of the public. But we talk about actually the shelter hospitals really help us to collect the patients with mild symptoms. This is really a helping institution. We talk about in the future, the next group of patients, when is the time they release, we don't know yet, but we will talk about that. Starting from today, we will see more patients discharged from the shelter hospitals. So please stay safe and protect yourself well. And for all the viewers, please stay tuned with CCTV New Media will bring you more coverage. All right, to all the viewers, just now we brought you the live streaming, the first batch of patients discharged from the Hongshan Sports Stadium Shelter Hospital. So this is the one in Wuchang, and we also have the one in another shelter hospital. So 6 patients discharged. So today, 6 plus 28, that's the total number of patients discharged from the shelter hospitals. Of course, that should give a big thank you to all the helping hands, the doctors, nurses, supporting teams, and also let's encourage all the medics and stay strong China, stay strong Wuhan. Where the CGT New Media will bring you all the updated coverage. Please stay tuned.